All right. How are we?
Really well. How are you?
Good.
Very well indeed. Yeah. It's good
Good,
to see
good.
your faces.
Aw.
Yes. It's so nice to catch up. And it has been a couple of weeks because you went away, didn't you, Swanee?
I did. I went to Thailand.
Really?
It was very, I can't say that I've had a more nostalgic trip. I went to Thailand 25 years ago in 2001 as a backpacker.
Mm.
And this is when I met Schmidty kind of thing. And it might have been just before that actually, because my then boss gave me her hand-me-down backpack from Barnsley. So it was a long time ago. And I don't know, I just, it was the time of the beach and Leonardo DiCaprio and all that kind of stuff. So it was very happening. And I've been back to like a little side trip with the family to a hotel, but I haven't really done Thailand. I forgot how beautiful it was. It was very, very enjoyable. And it was, the food was incredible. Oh my God. I had a really nice time.
Good.
Did you make the effort to go to Bangla Road?
No. In fact, we went to Bangkok for 4 nights to start with. And I just was like, I don't know that there's anything here I really want to do. I feel like I did it 25, and I was like, that's really not like me. And I would say it was a destination. The hotel was a destination in Bangkok. We just really had a very, very chill time, and I just think we needed a couple of days. And then my side trip was we went to Krabi, which I'd been to before, but that was when I'd gone down to like PP, on the back of the beach. Anyway, I'd seen some stuff. If you went north, you go up to like where James Bond Island is, and it's more sort of green water and the limestone cliffs. So we had a day trip, a boat trip up there, and it was phenomenal. So
Amazing.
I ticked that we were only there for a couple of days, there for a pretty short period of time, but it was enough. And then, it was like a week. I really enjoyed it. It was just what I needed.
Excellent.
Yes.
Nice.
And what's been happening? You've probably been in amongst fires, I think, while I've gone. There was a lot of Victorian fire action whilst we were away.
Yes, there was. But fortunately, it didn't actually affect us. It got very, very close to Ilden.
Yeah.
Came up to the back road, got up to there's a golf course on the back road. It got there. And if the wind hadn't changed when it did, give it another half an hour, and I reckon it would have hit the township. So it was close. But the wind changed, so that was okay, And I wasn't worried about the houseboat. I was worried about the house in the township, though. I wasn't sure how that would go.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, we're okay.
Was it as far up as you guys? I thought I looked on a map
Albury?
and it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I thought it was.
It was close to Albury, but it was on the other side. So it was low risk in that, the way the weather typically comes, it was going away from us. But, plenty of places like Corryong was pretty rough. There's heaps of spots that are burnt out as a result of it. So
I was looking at one of those maps where they have like little flames to show you, where the fires are, the fire fronts are. I was like, oh no, I don't know. When I was like, I can't tell how close that is to the boys, but it looked like it was in your territory, if you know what I mean, on a pretty statewide map. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, we were kind of commenting on how random it is, like where the fire starts. If it had for where it did start and the way it went, it was horrendous. But if it had been on the other side of us, it could have absolutely impacted us. So they're so devastating and so random the way they work.
It's just brutal. I know. And it's that thing, where I'm reluctant to say this because it'll make me sound very ignorant, but from one fire season to the next, I think that it's not that I forget, but I am reminded by that thing of the wind, the impact of the wind and that one
100%.
ember. And it's like, I forget that because, Perth is a very, very windy place. And, I feel sometimes, we sort of go, it's all fine. But I think when I'm reminded that sometimes it's just an ember that's on the wind that gets somewhere else and it starts something. And I'm like, God, that really could happen in so many different places. I forget the impact the wind has on it. It's not just bush, it's bush plus heat plus wind that really makes it into something that is so unpredictable and as dangerous as what it is.
Yeah, and it's those 40-odd degree days that are very windy that keep everyone on edge because they're the worst ones.
Yeah.
We had one of those today.
Yeah,
It's
and that
40 degrees
northerly
and windy.
wind. Oh, God, it was awful. Yeah, and it was awful here too in Sunbury. So even though we were going to go to the houseboat a day or two earlier, and then I was like, oh no, they're predicting it being catastrophically dangerous. We're not going. And so I also told the kids who were up there. I said, you need to leave.
Yeah,
they already had because thankfully they what are the
sensible.
generation these days? Millennials, full of anxiety. So they're not.
Oh yeah,
they're just anxious kids. So they're like, oh, we have to get out of there, which is good. And then.
Not like us lot back in the day.
No,
Jesus.
we would be like, if it's not coming down the hill, we're not worried about it. And probably would have died. So,
we'll just drink our way through it,
there is a value to their anxiety. But even in Sunbury though, like we were inside the whole day, but every time I went outside, you just got this blast of boiling hot hairdryer, like hot wind. And it was at times gusting at 100 Ks and blowing the furniture around on the deck. And, it's just, you just thought, this is so dangerous. All right. So, yes, there's been some fire chat.
It's a very highly emotive thing for a lot of Victorians at the moment.
I bet it is.
So you're right, Swanee. And I must admit, I was a bit traumatised. No, it didn't even actually affect me, but because it came so close to an area that is so close to my heart, I watched that fire, and there was a guy doing a live stream from Alexandra. And Alexandra is the town. It's about 20 minutes from Eildon. And this town itself was saved due to the incredible efforts of the CFA and the volunteers. But quite a lot of people on the outskirts lost their properties and homes. So that community is going to have to rebuild. And as you say, highly emotive at the moment. I suppose we should introduce ourselves. I'm Schmidty.
I'm Swanee.
And I'm Clarky. And together we are
Trial by Wine. Excellent. And what are we drinking?
Well,
what you got?
I've got a can, a slimline can of San Pellegrino.
Fancy.
It is a bit special.
It almost looked like it was some kind of hard seltzer.
It does look a bit like that, doesn't it? But it's not.
It's very
I had
fancy.
them at Christmas, and then I thought, I might go and get myself some more of those. There seemed to be a slow mover out of the back fridge. People aren't diving to get them like everything else
Hang
I've
on
got.
to them then.
This is even when I was away and I came back, they hadn't been touched. And not like I'd bought new ones, but I was like, oh, no one's touched them. I might have hit on something here. I can actually maintain it.
A winner.
Yeah.
Sparkling.
Yeah. Sparkling water hidden in a can.
Excellent.
Brilliant. We're on Terra Australis gin. It's a zesty lemon,
sounds
it's called.
nice. Oh, yes.
And it's from Dalesford. We bought it years ago. And I thought, let's give that a crack tonight because it's hot, It's refreshing. It's got a slice of mint in it. Delicious. What about you?
Oh, I've gone back to an old favourite. It's just a little one, but I've got a bit of the old Sailor Jerry here, a bit of pirate juice today.
Lovely.
Yeah, I just thought...
I've got a new cocktail to tell you about.
Have you?
No.
What is it?
Go
Tell
on.
us now.
I would say in Thailand last week, I had some very good, well, thankfully I didn't have any very bad ones because you really wouldn't want a very bad alcohol story in that part of the world, would you?
Yeah.
No.
Whatever.
But there was a bar in our hotel called the Bangkok Social Club. And when you arrived, like we met some friends there and they had been the night before. And so they were telling me all about what we were about to get. But you were given a shot glass, a small sort of like shot glass, which looked like red cordial in it. And what it was tequila with a hibiscus syrup.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was so good. In the end, so I've ended up getting it in a tall glass because I didn't even have it on the menu, but they did it for me. So it was like a red cordial tequila drink.
Okay, so should I tell us a story?
Sure.
Please do.
Okay. Now, I wrote this a while back because I actually had this ready to go the last time we recorded, but we just did the one and I've forgotten most of it. So bear in mind that I might be, even though I wrote it myself and I did the research and all the rest of it, there's a good chance it'll be like I'm cold reading. So when I actually did write it, I was doom scrolling away on the bed on Boxing, or after I broke my toe for Boxing Day.
Forgotten, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not too bad. It's getting better. And anyway, so I saw this story. It sort of popped up, it does on Facebook or Reels or whatever. You get something, you think, oh, is that real? No pun intended. So because I often think, is that a lot of old bullshit? And so I'll fact check. And it turned out this was real. So I thought, I might tell you this story. So my sources are theage.com.au, newyorktimes.com, cnn.com, douglascohistory.org, and Wikipedia. Okay, so it's one of those stories that spans decades. And I often think when we have this sort of thing, where do you start? Do you start, where do you start?
At the beginning or the end, yeah.
That's right. So let's
in the
jump.
middle.
That's right. At the exciting bit, at the less exciting bit, what do we do? So let's jump into the timey-wimey machine and head back to 1942, and we're going to go to Omaha, Nebraska.
Somewhere in Middle America.
Swanee?
That's a Counting Crows song.
It is.
Yep. Oh, is it? Right.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Somewhere in middle of... Oh, no, I'm going to murder
That's
that.
it. Yeah.
That's
Nailed
where
it.
we are, somewhere in Middle America. And we're going to get to 1942 when Opal and Bill Arnold brought little William Leslie Arnold into the world. Now, I did look up what was happening in Nebraska at the time, and apart from it being during World War II, there actually wasn't very much going on. So I
I
can't
need to
give
have a
you
look on a
much.
map to see where it is. I need to see what's
It's
surrounded by. Let's have a look.
literally in the middle. And one of the things they talked about was and
Really, isn't it?
You would know more about this than I do.
Okay,
but
South Dakota above, Iowa to the right,
yeah,
Oklahoma below, Utah, Wyoming off to the
Yeah.
actually, it might just be Wyoming off.
What do you call it? Is it the Midwest or just the mid? It's not really west, is it?
Somewhere in Middle America.
Somewhere in Middle
So,
America.
yeah, Counting
that's all
Crows had
I've
it
got.
right. They had it right. So the thing I did read about it was that pretty much Nebraska was very agricultural.
Midwestern,
right.
known
So
for Great Plains, Sandhills, rich agriculture, pioneer history,
yeah.
and vibrant wildlife.
That's it. So at the time, its main economy was around agriculture. So it was, a bit rural. And it was affected by 1942 by this big dust thing that had happened where through bad agricultural practices, I think it was through the Depression, what had happened was they'd created a massive dust bowl, basically. And the dust travelled over people and whatever agriculture they had. And this is not just in Nebraska, this was a Midwest problem.
Right.
And what it created, though, was a sort of migration of people away from the Great Dust Bowl situation. And so Nebraska was one of the places
is that where
where
that
people
comes
settled.
from, that saying?
Yeah,
Probably
sort of
is. The Dust Bowl, yeah.
The Dust Bowl and the Dust Bowl migration was to do with this dreadful drought. It was, seasons of drought, etc., bad farming practices. A bit like here, you had a big dust storm that covered everything, fucked it up, and then people were starving anyway. It was in the Depression, so they sort of moved out, and then you had the war. So it was
good times.
It was okay. It was at the end of that, but I think Nebraska had a lot of people who'd actually migrated into Nebraska because it wasn't as affected as I think it was Utah and Oklahoma, but don't quote me.
It's
Anyway,
apparently
that's what
known
I
as
read
the
about.
Cornhusker State. What a ring that has to it.
Cornhusker State.
Yes.
Oh, is that where all the corn
the old
go?
Cornhusker State. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in fairness, I won't say it wasn't interesting, but it wasn't very interesting. Okay. So fast forward a bit, and Opal and Bill then bring little James into the world, their second child, and they call him Jim. Now, with the first child, William Leslie, obviously he's Bill Jr., but they call him Leslie most of the time anyway, because that helps him differentiate from his father. Now, they had a nice suburban house on a decent-sized block. That's how it was described anyway. It was built in 1941, and it was actually a one-bed, one-bathroom house. And in the papers, it was described as being on an imposing block on large grounds in a fashionable neighbourhood of the city.
One bedroom, one bathroom.
I looked it up. Yeah, I looked it up, and I've got to tell you, standards have changed because it was a 569 square metre block, which is smaller than the block that my house is on. I wouldn't call that an imposing large block on large grounds. And it's a tiny little house. But, maybe for 1950s Omaha, it was the, cat's whiskers. There's not really much to say about Bill Jr., who went by Leslie, as I said, as he grew up. He did well at school and he seemed perfectly normal. His teachers described him as quiet and well-behaved. He was a musician, quite into music, and he participated in band this one time at band camp and was apparently massively into Elvis and, from what I could tell, was a perfectly ordinary young man. So if at this point at the story you're picturing that all-American, this 1950s sort of family as demonstrated in something like Leave It to Beaver, if you recall, then you're pretty much seeing the right thing. If you don't remember Leave It to Beaver, it was one of several shows that popularised the wholesome nuclear family living in the modern post-war suburbs with a working dad. Bill Sr. was a manager at a food distribution company and a homemaking mother, Opal. And of course, naughty kids like Leslie and Jim. Whilst Leslie was reputed to have a bit of a temper at times, his uncle Benjamin said he'd never seen him lay a finger on anyone, but true to the older brother trope, he would give Jim a smack on occasion, but would allegedly wear socks so he didn't leave a mark. It reminded me of the time my sister picked up a chopping board and hit me with a chopping board, and a big timber one, and I said, "Why are you doing that?" She said, "Because it hurts to hit you with my hand," as it hurt herself. And that's siblings for you, right?
Yeah.
Also,
she's probably very, very correct.
She was, and I remember it hurting me quite a lot, but I pretended it didn't because I was being tough. I had my arm up. I had defensive wounds, I can tell you. So the neighbours and some others said that Opal seemed to favour Jim, the youngest, which is not that unusual, unfortunately, and she was more inclined to pick on Leslie. She wasn't keen on his musicianship, rude, but she sounded somewhat like a standard mother, if I'm honest, who expected a lot of her eldest boy and put a lot of pressure on him, and probably didn't see the playing in band and all that sort of stuff as being money-making, etc.
Speaking of pressure on older sons,
Yeah, what have you done now?
I had to sort of peel myself away from the internet and all the memes on Victoria Beckham, eldest son's wedding.
Know. I haven't followed it, but I heard something on Jonesy and Amanda the other day. They were talking about how Romeo has blocked the parents and...
Oh, no. You guys must be under a rock. Brooklyn, the eldest son, who has been...
not Romeo, Brooklyn.
Who has been sort of separate to the family and had been unfollowed by whatever. He came out with this statement basically just writing the parents off. But the key piece is, at one point he claims that his mother danced on him inappropriately during his wedding. Anyway, so all of the internet is like all of these ridiculous things of women dancing, like whores or whatever. Also then say, Victoria Beckham at Brooklyn's wedding or whatever else.
Yeah,
there's been absolute corkers.
I think the thing I heard, which was pretty offensive, that they had one of J-Lo's ex-husbands, Mark Anthony.
Yeah.
And Mark Anthony apparently said, give it up for the most beautiful woman in the room, Victoria Beckham.
At someone else's wedding.
At her son's wedding.
Normally it's the bride, right? So I thought, I understand why you're not happy. That would have shit me to tears also. And there was some other thing about a snub that the bride, whose name I don't know, but she was Mrs. Pelz, that's it. She was supposed to be wearing a Victoria Beckham designed gown, and she didn't wear a Victoria Beckham designed gown in the end. So yes, it's scandal.
It's all the big issues,
it's a crockish. That's exactly right. It's a crock of shit. But the memes are very funny because there's just so many.
Surely there'd be video of things.
Well, that's what they're saying, where are the tents? But there's like, how like Britney's always off the head dancing or whatever else. There's like, they've got pictures of Britney like in a white dress.
Britney.
Then going saying, Victoria Beckham at Brooklyn's wedding. Every crazy dancing meme I've seen is now being repurposed, for...
There'll be video of it,
Oh, it's just...
if it exists.
God.
Which makes me think it doesn't.
That your mum danced on you inappropriately. Gross.
Oh, I don't know about my mum dancing on me inappropriately, but there's been a lot of inappropriate things happen in my life that I just let go and don't worry about.
Yes, that's what family life's like.
It is. Okay, so I was talking about Opal. I don't think she danced on him inappropriately, but she put a lot of pressure on him. Yeah. And apparently allegedly on a couple of occasions, if he came home late, she wouldn't let him in the house and he had to go and sleep in a local stable. But in fairness, it was 1958, and I reckon that would have been relatively normal. If you were breaking the rules and there was a curfew in the house, then you sleep outside.
Yep.
So in our context, everyone's like, terrible, but I think it's pretty normal. They seemed like quite an ordinary family. So it was a bit surprising when, in 1958, after Opal and Bill told Leslie that he couldn't use the family car to go to the drive-in with his girlfriend, he took matters into his own hands and overreacted in a rather massive way.
What's he done?
He didn't block them on social media and release a statement talking about inappropriate dancing. No, he had an argument with his mum on a Saturday afternoon and went and got a gun and shot her 6 times.
Oh.
And then he reloaded the gun, and when his father came home a bit later, he shot him 6 times.
I was thinking the argument's probably fair. That's okay. I'm good with that.
The argument's fine. That's normal.
The whole gun thing.
How old was he?
16.
And he went and got a gun.
I think it was the father's gun.
The family
Oh,
gun.
right. Okay.
And let me guess, the government responded by putting in a gun ban?
No, they did not. No.
Maybe a bin or 20?
No bins, no guns, no buybacks, nothing.
An amnesty bin.
No amnesties, nothing.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing the gun at the time was a standard revolver, so probably had 6 rounds in it. So he basically emptied the gun into his mother and then emptied it into his father. And I think it's a little over the top for a ban on using the car.
It sounds a lot over the top.
Yeah.
The ban sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
As does the curfew.
I mean, I wasn't allowed to do things, and I would get very cross with my parents. And I can understand that at 16, your brain's not formed and you've got all these emotions and you're a bit, you've got hormones happening. But getting a gun and shooting your parents seems a bit of a stretch. But
did anything bad happen to him? Was there any evidence of
anything?
There's
no evidence of any form of abuse.
You explained those two
things. Locking him out when he was a bit naughty, didn't come home.
Missed the curfew.
Yeah, and she did belittle him about being in band camp a bit.
But didn't dance inappropriately on him at his wedding.
No.
Didn't even get a chance to because he wouldn't have been married at 16.
Correct. Wouldn't let him go out with the girlfriend. But it's okay because after he did that, he actually did go out with the girlfriend. He took the car and he went to the drive-in and he watched a double feature of The Undead, which is kind of ironic.
I'll show you.
Yes.
Could have picked a better choice of movie after he's just killed his parents.
I think it was all that's showing at the drive-in. Do you remember drive-ins? They only had one film for 6 weeks. Yeah.
But you just wouldn't rush to see it after you've just murdered people.
Well, that's why he did it, though. He wanted the car. He needed to go to the drive-in. He had a date.
It could have got there and gone, what? That's all you're showing? I'm not watching that, and gone back home.
I think you get there and you go, I killed my parents for this. We better watch it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
What if your undead parents were in it?
Well, they were not. A cold case investigator, Jeff Britton, said he'd killed his parents and he was going to bury them in the yard later that night, and he's at the drive-in seeing The Undead. To kill your parents over the use of the car to go to the movies, that's not normal. It made me wonder if something else was going on, he told CNN. Do you think, Jeff?
Do you think? Yeah, he's a genius. Expert comments.
And I have to say, throughout this story, you will appreciate that this story is good for the expert comments. But go on. Yeah.
Is he even allowed to drive at 16? Back then?
I probably could do whatever you want then, I'd imagine.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it okay that he expected to use the car? Oh,
I think that's right. I think isn't the US the thing that you can get a car, you can drive at 16, but you can't drink to 21? Like there's all, it's totally
right. Okay. No, well, that's all right.
I think. I could be wrong.
I just thought how wrong to argue about the drive-ins if he's not even allowed to drive and then shoot his parents for being unreasonable. Apparently, at 16 and a half, you can have a full license.
Yeah.
Up until then, you can have a license where you can't drive at night or with a passenger, or there's passenger restriction. So I'm guessing he failed both of those. But I think, let's go, he was over 16 and a half, and so it was okay to be asking.
Well, I mean, that could have been why the mum and dad said, no, you can't take the car.
Well, that's what I was wondering. And then how outrageous to shoot them because you're asking them to do something illegal.
Correct. That's a very good question, actually. And because I couldn't get his actual date of birth, I can't tell you whether he was 16 and a half or not. I just know
Let's give him the benefit of the doubt because otherwise he's a very, very naughty boy.
Indeed,
not just a very naughty boy.
So I made reference to the fact that the commentary from the various people in this, and this was Jeff Britton, the cold case investigator, is quite funny.
The cold case investigator.
Yeah.
I take it. We're going somewhere else with this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it makes sense.
Is this?
Did I not say that a minute ago?
Is this going to be this episode going to be like reading the comments on a Facebook post, all the expert comments that you get?
I did say cold case investigator, so I did mention that earlier. That's okay. I just suddenly thought, oh my God, did I just give something away? But no, I'd already given it away. Yeah, okay. So, Jeff says he thought maybe something else was going on, and I think that's a fair question. But to your point, maybe it was illegal for him to have the car and just crack the shits because he wanted it. So once
maybe
he gets back,
grounded for
it would have been after
curfew.
Shooting. You would have grounded him after shooting him, wouldn't you? So
absolutely.
Once back home after the double feature of The Undead, he waited till dark, which I assume it was already dark, to be fair, because who's watching a drive-in in the daytime? And he dragged them both outside where he buried their bodies in the garden. Yes. Now, his younger brother, Jim, had been out at the time working at a rodeo, and I couldn't find out how old he was, but I'm going to assume he was about 14 at the time, working at a rodeo for the weekend. Anyway. But when he got home, Leslie told him that the parents had been called away or something to someone's place. Someone rang, they've gone visiting such and such. And Jim had no reason to disbelieve that. The house was clean. There was no sign of a struggle. There was no blood on the walls or anything like that. So, he bought the story. Leslie and Jim went to school and they continued as if nothing out of the ordinary was happening. However, someone got suspicious, and I'm not sure who, because I thought it was, I might have confused this fact with another story I was looking at. So someone got suspicious. And eventually the cops got called, and when they arrived, it didn't take long at all for Leslie to completely break under interrogation and cough up that he'd killed them and buried them in the garden, and he was arrested. Yeah.
End of story. Wow.
But it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks that went on for. So in 1959, 8 months after leading the investigators to the shallow graves of his parents, William Leslie Arnold was given a life sentence. However, as he was only 16 at the time, he was likely to be paroled in about 10 years. Now, I don't know what, if any, defence was put forward. I read one short article saying he was a highly strung teen, but shooting your folks 6 times still seems pretty over the top. So he went to jail. And, of course, he was a model prisoner. The end.
Didn't have any parents around to annoy him.
Or a gun to,
No
to
drive-ins
shoot
to
people.
tempt
No
him.
drive-ins, no girlfriends, that's right. Well, no, not really. So even though he probably would have been paroled, but in 1967, Leslie and another inmate, James Harding, made a break for it from Nebraska State
Hang on,
Penitentiary.
how long has he been in jail for now? 8
So
years
he
or
went down
something?
in 59 and it's
Yeah.
67.
Yeah, 8 years. So he's only got 2 to go, but he's going to...
That's the point, right? He was literally going to be paroled in no time and he could have just gone
He's not
home,
clever.
got out. He wasn't stupid, so I don't really understand why he did this. But anyway, he and James Harding made a break for it from the state penitentiary. And it's one of those sort of prison breaks that I think has actually inspired
No
a couple
helicopter?
of movie things. No helicopter. No, much more, I think it was used in Escape from Alcatraz, but effectively they communicated with some parolee on the outside through ads in the paper. And so they were placing newspaper ads in the paper, or the outsider was placing newspaper ads so that they could see what they were telling them. I'm not sure which way it went. But what they did was in 1967, so after having just 8 years of his life sentence, Arnold and James Harding got this person to throw a hacksaw over the fence.
Right.
Yeah, and so they picked up this hacksaw and they cut through the bars of a window in the prison music room. And then they used their T-shirts to lay on the barbed wire so they didn't get cut up while they got over the fence and scarp it out of there. And they'd also managed to get from this person masks. And so they they stuffed their beds to look like they were in it, and they had a mask and a wig, I'm guessing, so they looked like they were asleep, so that when the guards went around and did their daily head count, they thought they were in their prison cells.
Yeah.
And
buying
they
them
were
time.
not. Yes, they weren't, right? And so they went over a 12-foot fence, and there was a ground and air search that extended across 4 states trying to get them with Clarkey, helicopters,
Yes.
fixed-wing aircraft, patrol troopers, sheriff's deputies, and police officers, which was
A
according to an
fixed-wing
article.
aircraft, just planes?
I would call them that, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
'Cause they
Just
don't-
clarify. Gosh. Oh, look, a
Yeah.
fixed-wing aircraft.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, are you going to America? Yes, how are you getting there? Oh, fixed-wing aircraft.
I know it
Okay.
rotates, but even a helicopter's, rotor is still
Yeah.
fixed in some way. Anyway, it doesn't fling off. Anyway, that's just what they described it as in an article in the Lincoln Journal
Not a
Star.
flapping.
No, you're like a bird. No, this came from the Lincoln Journal Star, dated the 15th of July, 1967. And apologies, I don't have the journalist's name who described an aeroplane as a fixed-wing plane. So, aircraft. It's not even a plane, a fixed-wing aircraft.
Yeah, aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 months later, the Omaha World Herald quoted a prison warden saying that theirs was the cleanest escape in his experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It does sound
Um,
like it's directly out of a movie
Out of a
script.
film, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
I
it
think it was
does.
Escape
And yeah,
from
that clearly
Alcatraz.
predates most of the movies, so yeah, I can
It
see why
does,
it's
yeah.
the inspiration.
So my next line was, it all worked like something out of a film. And they went on to Chicago, where they split up. James Harding was recaptured the year after, but there was no sign of William Leslie Arnold. He was on the lam and in the wind.
Nice, Leslie.
And the trail for him went stone cold.
Oh, he's clever.
Stone cold. For how long?
Well, the case bounced around through different law enforcement agencies over the years. So really, I mean, he's been done for life for killing his parents. He's escaped and he hasn't completed his sentence. But, at this point in time, I think the crime here is the escape, right? Because he's already would have done most of the time that he would have done. Anyway, the case bounced around through different law enforcement agencies over the years. The FBI had a crack at it in the 90s, and then it went to the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services, where Jeff Britton, who I quoted earlier, became pretty obsessed with it. He worked on the case for 9 years. And
Wow.
I'm assuming he also worked on other cases but at the time. But he worked on this case for 9 years, and he trawled through all the info on the case and this escape, trying to work out where Leslie had gone. And eventually, the case was passed over to the US Marshals in 2020, and a new investigator,
What?
Matt Westover, took it on.
How old's Leslie by now?
Leslie was 1942. He was born.
Jesus. Yeah,
So he's 78.
68, 78.
78.
Yes,
68.
78, yeah.
Jeez.
One of the guys, so this is a quote from Matt, and this is what I'm talking about, the funny quotes from the people. One of the guys left the office, and when you leave, they have to hand over your cases. So one of my buddies gave me this case as kind of a joke, like, you're never going to find this guy, Westover said. Like Jeff Britton, Westover became obsessed with it. He reached out to Jeff and, they bonded over the case, with Jeff still working on it as a bit of a hobby.
And where's Jeff?
Jeff was from the Nebraska Cold Case Unit or something.
Okay, so he's like...
Or Nebraska Department of Correctional Services.
Yeah, so he's in Nebraska. And who's the other guy who's just been handed
He's a US Marshal.
A US Marshal.
US Marshals picked it up, yeah. So this is
It's
3
a
law
lot.
enforcement agencies, yeah.
It's a lot. It's the shittiest cold case.
Yeah.
You're not looking into something unsolved per se.
You're not trying to find murderer. You're trying to find a runaway. Yep.
You're like, come on.
Yeah, I know. But they loved it because they got very obsessed by it.
If this was an episode of Cold Case, I would turn it off.
Well, they didn't. They loved it. So
Thank God.
Yeah. So they caught up on it regularly. They'd ring each other and have chats over it for years and look at the theories and all the rest of it. And there were theories that Leslie had gone to various places, including Brazil, and the investigators followed up any lead that they could. There'd been an immigration document with his name on it issued to someone in Brazil less than 2 years after he'd escaped from the prison. But that ended up going absolutely nowhere, as the Brazilian officials didn't have any record of William Leslie Arnold, and no one could answer as to why his name was on the document in the first place.
Yeah, why would you call yourself that?
No idea. So Matt Westover tracked down an ex-girlfriend who had received letters from Les, but that didn't help either. He found postcards from Canada and California with Leslie's name, but again, that didn't lead to anything. And, of course, it's all 30 years after the fact, after he's done a runner. Yeah. So it's pretty hard to get any traction on it. Amusingly, in my opinion, they had theorised that given he was pretty musical, he might have used this as a way to make money. A killer busker, perhaps. But I also thought it was funny because most people who are musicians professionally will tell you it is not a way to make money. In fact, you spend your entire time, living on the breadline. One of their many leads was that he had changed his name not long after getting to Chicago. And this one was correct. He was now going by the name of John Vincent Damon. Not long after his escape, he met and married a woman who had her own children. They moved around a bit, going to Cincinnati and Miami, but then they divorced. He then moved to California, where he remarried and started a family with his new wife using the name John Vincent Damon. He and his family relocated again, though this time to New Zealand. And eventually they ended up in Queensland, Australia.
Hey.
Yep, where he was a businessman and a father and an all-round good bloke.
Guy.
Yeah. So eventually Matt Westover managed to track down Leslie's brother Jim in Missouri, and he was able to get a DNA sample from him. And he ran that on all the databases, but there was no hits because, let's face it, he's an all-round good guy. He hasn't done anything illegal. There's no DNA on
He
file.
just has a fake identity, does he?
Yeah, he just changed his name and started a new life. So as it turns out, William Leslie Arnold, or John Vincent Damon, as he was now known, actually died in 2010 from complications from blood clots. So he was 68 when he passed, I think, at Clarkie.
Sounds good.
Yeah. He was remembered by his family as an absolutely fantastic father, and he was sorely missed. However, he'd only ever told his son that he was an orphan from Chicago. So in 2022, his son decided to do an Ancestry.com DNA test, and bing, 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 bing. Suddenly the US Marshals had a familial DNA hit. Because as we know, you are
Fantastic.
agreeing to share your DNA profile
Yes.
when you sign up to those things. Now, here's one of these cracking quotes. "It was thrilling," Matt said. "I won't say it's like hitting the lottery because I've never hit the lottery. I'm sure that's a pretty good feeling, but I was just ecstatic." This guy really has a way with words, don't you think?
I think so.
Now, can you imagine what happened next?
They
Obviously.
flew out to Queensland.
I think they did, yes. Obviously, the case was closed and the fugitive was found resting peacefully in the Tambourine Mountain Cemetery.
Oh, with a
Wow.
lovely view.
Yes,
Yes.
the Tambourine Man. And I know that they did fly out because there is a photo of John Damon's grave. He's the
I
headstone
thought there was
thing.
going to be a part of him or something.
No, his grave, and then there's a US Marshal badge on it. And I think it says case solved
Clever.
or something. I was like, is that really necessary? Anyway.
Yeah.
And it could have been enough to leave it at that, saying, okay, we know where he is, he's dead. Okay. But no, not the US Marshal Matt Westover. No, he had to tell Leslie/John's family that their beloved father had committed double parricide and all for the use of the family car to go to a drive-in. Then he'd escaped from prison after almost completing his minimum sentence. I mean, really, he could have just done the last year of his sentence. I still don't
It
know
would
why
have
he
been
did that.
unbelievable if he was really this, nice guy.
Can you imagine this? Can
to
you
hear
imagine?
about that.
Yeah.
You did what?
So he tells them over a video call and he says, it was really hard conversation. The family didn't know any of this stuff, so it's hard not to feel bad for them. Hey, Matt. Indeed.
Read the room.
You should feel bad for them. They didn't murder anyone. Why do you feel the need to punish his family in this way?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Mima, Papa.
Jeff Britton also tried to fill in some gaps for the family after all the work he'd done for 9 years. And I suppose they were so obsessed by it, they were like, let me tell you a story about your dad. I don't want to hear it.
Is this expert commentary, Jeff?
Yeah.
Coming to the rescue.
Correct. And then he says, even worse, they're getting a new perspective on a man they had a completely different view of. That's got to be hard to process.
My God.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jeff.
Thanks. Thanks for the insight.
Unbelievable. The
They're
US
also
Marshal.
Just what that would do to your family dynamic. You don't want that.
Because you'll always ask yourself what motivated him to do it. And is there something in him, psychopathy or something?
Is it genetic? Is there something that,
you will not be able, correct.
If I ground my child and so they can't go to the drive-ins.
Well, they slaughter me.
Because of our Australian gun laws that they won't have access to a gun as easily,
Yeah. Far out.
I just don't think that they needed to tell the family.
I'm with you.
So the US Marshal Westover learned that, this is another cracker, that Leslie/John had gone on to have a great life and had never done a bad thing that we know of again. According to Matt, he apparently changed his ways. I like the use of apparently there.
Apparently, there's no evidence to say that he didn't.
Otherwise,
Well,
but
apart from all the bodies in the backyard that he's been burying quietly,
I mean, the Australian police wouldn't be as good as us, so they probably just let all of that go.
Here's the next awful but awesome line from Matt. He says, I'm glad he's dead. Going on to explain that if he were alive, they would have to arrest him in his, he says 80s because it's 2020, yes. As bad as that sounds, I'm glad because I really wouldn't want to put the family through that, Matt said. I think they've been through enough already, let alone if I was to take their dad from them.
Oh, my God.
Kind of did in a way.
Well.
Yeah. Oh, you've done everything you could to damage them, given that he's already dead.
Like, once you found out he was dead, there was no value in any of it,
No.
So
Walk away.
I know, right? That is the story of William Leslie Arnold / John Vincent Damon, and perhaps one of the least sympathetic handling of a case I've read in a while. Go US Marshals.
Yeah, nailed it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did like the quote. It was like winning the lottery. I mean, I wouldn't know what it was like to win the lottery because I never won the lottery, but I imagine it would feel like this.
Yeah. Solving a case
Absolutely.
of a runaway. Like, it's not even a good cold. Like, if you were going through folder after folder of cold case, who would be saying, yes, spend your time chasing that one?
True.
Taxpayers are paying money for him to go and do all of that and ruin the lives of someone in another country.
Maybe it was driven by the kind of cultural feeling of a law enforcement agent being upset that someone had tricked the system and got away from them. You know what I mean?
It sounds like he was having beers with his mates and working through all the hypotheses. And I hope he wasn't doing that during work hours because that's something you do for fun on the weekend if you're that way inclined. Not.
Well, he got paid to do it.
Oh.
He even probably got paid to fly to Queensland so that he could go and look at the grave to make sure he's dead.
Do you have any photos of them in Queensland?
No, not of them, just a photo of this US Marshal badge on the graveside. I'm like, you seriously went there to make that point?
God.
It's weird.
Him getting paid to do that is like us getting paid to do this podcast. Ridiculous.
But he actually got paid.
I know, that's what I'm saying, by taxpayers to solve that crime.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So, I mean, we'll never really know, obviously, because he didn't tell his family about what he'd done, but we'll never really understand. There was some conversation in some of the stuff that when he was in jail, he spoke to some of the psychiatrists there, and it did sound like his mother was pretty harsh on him, but no one really felt that it warranted being shot, I think possibly in the face 6 times, yeah.
Well,
that's a very, very brutal
It's outrageous.
Reaction. Yeah. But isn't it weird that
and doing his dad as well?
Well, maybe the dad was like, in part, you're just as bad, but also I've killed Mum, so
yeah, I think it probably is the second.
I'm just going to have to kill him now because
I've got to follow through.
Yeah, because otherwise I'll be, and he spent 2 weeks. He didn't think about it properly because then he spent 2 weeks pretending they'd gone away. Yeah, at some point, someone was going to roll you on that. Yeah.
What I like is that he did reform himself. He didn't do 8 years and then become
that we know of.
a life crime. Yeah, correct, that we know of. And I think it's fair to assume that nothing happened, but maybe
There's
it
no
did.
evidence. There's no evidence that he
That's
Israel
right. And the
Keynes
family's
did
not
and went
saying,
around
that
and killed people.
explains that time those dead
Correct.
people were
In
he
our
was burying
backyard.
dead people
Yeah.
in our backyard. And we were all like, he wouldn't do that.
I don't know. I don't know if the US Marshal ever went out and checked it, but who
Yeah,
knows?
they should have scanned the backyard for more.
I mean, I saw family photos of them, and they looked like a lot of the photos. You'd like them, Swanee. They were from the 70s and 80s. They were very
nice.
reminiscent of pictures of your mother that you put up for her birthday when she was younger, obviously. And it was all that sort of style of, the really daggy house, these are in New Zealand and Queensland, I think.
Yeah.
And the mum had her hair
Do they have
perfectly
bangs?
up, No, the mum had that older style, when they sort of curled it and put it up.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how to describe it. And, a real hairdo. I think the photos might have been taken when they were having like a dinner party or something, but she had that 70s hairdo
Beehive.
dinner party, kind of beehive, but, it's just very styled. And she was, this is the second wife, nicely put together. And he was very handsome, actually. And they had a photo of him when he was a kid, and he was a handsome young boy. And then they'd done this progression because he just disappeared, right? One of the blogs I read hasn't updated since they discovered who he was because they actually only discovered it a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So it was still like, where is he? It's a mystery. He's missing. I'm like, no, he's dead. He's Mr. Tambourine Man in Tambourine Mountain Cemetery, right?
Yeah.
So...
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man.
I was going to do the joke because
shoot a parent for me.
Because we have a problem with sound and copyrights and stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard, the song Tambourine Man, obviously.
Yes.
He did a little bit of it. Have you ever heard the version that was recorded by William Shatner?
No.
It's terrible. And he goes, Mr. Tambourine Man, Mr. Tambourine Man. It's so weird.
No.
So I encourage you, if you can find that weird recording, to listen to it because it's very funny. And I was going to do a joke about that at the beginning, but I forgot. So there you go. Yeah, so that's thing. Any sentencing, any thoughts?
Oh, the
Just
one
the
that
waste of
springs to mind
taxpayer
for
money?
me is a bit of training around delivering a message gently.
Oh, isn't it
we
awful? On video call.
We were glad he was dead because I don't want to bring the family through that after you've just brought the family through that. Like,
I know. No.
gosh.
I told you that there was scurrilous gossip after Dad passed away that we might have had.
What? I don't know that you did.
There was scurrilous after Dad passed away. Someone knocked on our door and alleged that we have a illegitimate brother.
Oh, maybe this does ring a bell.
There's no evidence that this is true, and that person has never actually presented themselves to us. And
who was the person at the front door? Is it somebody you knew or not?
The brother of the man who's alleged to be our half brother.
Okay.
And he was like, it was weird because he was talking to my sister and he was like, oh yeah, just reminiscing about this, that, and the other, and says, oh, your dad and my mum had an affair, and my younger brother X is the progeny of that, and we're like. No, we weren't aware of that. No. And it was just a bit odd. And the person.
And your mum was still alive at this point.
No.
Did she know that?
Mum had died. Sorry, it was after Mum had died. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah, sorry. No, Mum had passed. And then, but it wasn't like some people had the immediate, they're after the estate or something. But it was Mum's estate at that point, not Dad's. So they weren't. It wasn't that. It was just a weird, we thought you knew. And it's like, well, not only do we not know, but I've been sent a photo of the alleged half-brother who's supposed to be a dead ringer for my dad, and he looks nothing like him. I am not seeing what they're seeing. But, if this guy shows up and he wants to prove it, we'll do a DNA test and we'll know through familial DNA whether or not we're related. And, we can say, hello, sorry, we haven't met each other for 65 years, whatever. But it's just that thing, when someone is dead, they're not there to explain themselves. They're not there to give you any of the context. And some rando knocks on the door. I did. I was very angry with him, and I was a troubled teen, and I just lost it. Whatever it is, but there's nothing in it for them to be able to deny or do anything. It's just some rando ringing you up on a video call, going, "Hey, just letting you know, your father killed his parents."
It's a murderer, but also
and
there's
escapee. Yeah.
there's no, correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't sound like there's any family member who is trying to solve the
Find out.
crime.
No.
They didn't know there was a crime.
No, but
Such
what
a
I mean is
strange
in
way
the
to put
US,
resources.
you
Oh, it
know,
was solved. Yeah, no, and Jim, the
it wasn't
brother,
like
didn't know where he'd gone and didn't seem to
relatives
care.
of Jim's, were, you know, descendants of Jim's were going, we need to
No.
solve this.
No,
Just
no one seemed.
let it go.
It was
There's
more
no
a bit
justice.
of a mystery. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a Lord Lucan thing. It was like, oh, it's just a mystery as to what happened to him.
Which is fine. Solve the mystery, like you say. Don't go and then
Don't go and ruin the
speak ill
life.
of the dead.
Well, I mean, the facts are the facts, but they didn't need to know them. You know, they didn't need to know who this
Exactly
man
right.
was.
Just let it go.
Yeah. So there you go.
Gosh. I am Jeffrey, bringer of doom. I'll bring
I
her
am
on.
Matt. Yeah. I'm glad he's dead. I mean, I did read it rather unfortunately. He probably said, I'm glad he's dead because, you know, we put the family through enough already. But he still said, I'm glad he's dead.
There's a
It's
better
actually
way
a
of
quote.
saying, like, it was really awkward to have to tell the family that. Imagine if he had been alive and we had to.
Exactly.
pull
You're
it
right. You're right.
away.
It's a communication, and maybe it's about press. You know how executives have to do press handling and
Training.
media training.
media training. It is
Yeah.
media training, isn't it? Because these are obviously quotes to the media that these guys have provided. Yeah.
Yeah, and even you know, like doctors with their bedside manner sometimes can be a bit blunt, but fair income. We're glad he's dead.
I know. How funny. He apparently
Phew.
changed his ways. Well, I mean, there's something along the lines of 50 years to suggest that he did change his ways.
Yeah,
but
that's
okay.
right. With no evidence to the contrary, so don't need to use the word apparently.
Oh, I know. I did think that was funny.
Why don't they go investigating him for the next 20
Well-
years to see if he did do anything else?
I was interested as to whether they were going to look at, having worked out where he was and where he'd been, whether there was a spike in people who'd gone missing for a period of time. Like, was there any evidence of
Yeah.
a serial killer being active in the area or whatever? No.
It is a very odd way to sort of use resource. And, you know, if you've got,
Yes.
well, I mean, it's hard to say really. Like when
Actually, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
for 9 years, perhaps he looked at it, you know, occasionally, but like the way it's been presented is he's
He
so
poured over
obsessive.
it.
Yeah. He's got an obsession with it. It's like, I'm not sure it's the best use of government money to be able to
Well-
chase someone who we know committed the crime as a youth and serve time. Yes, he did escape, but if he'd finished it off, you know, then would never
It
hear
wouldn't
about
have been
again.
much longer.
I just
yeah.
sort of think, you know, there's so many terrible, terrible things that are unsolved, you know, and people that are missing. It'd be better ways to sort of
But it's
use the
use the
resource.
resource on that. And it's interesting because I just edited The Pajama Girl, which we did, I think, pre-Christmas. And
yeah.
that's Clarkey told the story about the person who was found out of Albury
And
and her
burned.
husband and burned. And her
Yeah,
husband had
yeah.
said he did it, but he didn't say that he'd killed. He didn't say it was the Pajama Girl. And there's enough question, there's enough doubt over it that the person they thought it was is not who the court was. And we had the whole conversation about when do you use taxpayer money and resources to solve that was a 90-year-old or a nearly 100-year-old crime, right? And, you know, we argued it, well, we discussed that really. But this is not, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that much fresher or newer. You know, it's 1959. It's
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
sort of thing. And if you thought he was out there as a serial killer and you're on the hunt for him for subsequent crimes he'd committed post leaving, getting out of prison, as in escaping prison, sorry,
Yeah.
absolutely you'd be looking for him, right?
Yeah.
But there was no evidence of that.
I think the other thing is, if you did invest all of that time in trying to find him, you'd be hoping he's still alive so you could bring him to justice, not going, oh, I'm glad he was dead.
I know.
Because it was nothing about justice. It was literally about a mystery that they wanted
Yeah.
to solve.
True.
It
Like
feels a
they're-
bit like Famous Five or something. There's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
very amateurish
Scooby-Doo,
about it.
like,
It's like a
just
hobby. It's like these
drive-
guys actually have other jobs as a hobby. It's like, they go down to the pub and they talk about where this
That-
guy. He's going to be in Australia. We found out he's in Australia. Oh, we've got to go there. Let's
it's
save up all our
exactly
money.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never been there. I've never been outside Nebraska.
It's surprising that they didn't look more in South America because that's where a lot of people would go. But, you know, I mean, New Zealand in the 70s, let's face it, that was like 1924 Nebraska.
And Queensland would have been too, probably.
Similarly, yeah. Not a bad place to go if you want to disappear, I guess, yeah.
All of that aside, excellent work finding him. That can't have
Oh,
been
yes.
easy.
Yes,
No.
congratulations. Well, it was just a bit of good luck, wasn't it? It was just the work that they did was finding Jim to get the first DNA sample to be able to connect with whatever popped up. And then they were just lucky that the son had an interest in his own ancestry. Maybe that's what justified it for them. Oh, well, he's put it in Ancestry.com. He wants to know more
Yeah.
about his father.
That's right. Yeah,
Let's
we'll tell him. Yeah.
Maybe that is it.
That's got me thinking, because I've done all that. You know how that I'm
Yeah.
adopted. And I mean, I came from some pretty dodgy stock. I wonder if like someone will come knocking on my door one day.
One
Yes.
day.
I actually thought that when you said it. I was like, oh, I'd never given that any thought.
It'll be a bit like Tilla one day when the lady met this fella, but when the phone rang.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Golly.
Well, yeah, but the only thing I would say about that is that I know that you know who your birth parents are, but it's not
Yeah.
like they raised you and you spent any time with them.
No.
Like, this is a man who adored his father, who had
Yeah.
a relationship with his
Yeah,
father,
yeah,
whose
yeah.
grandkids knew his lovely pops, and now
Popper.
he's a double murderer. I get where you're coming from, which, yuck, I've got some bad seeds in my background, but they're not related to you in as much as
No, I know what
lived
you mean.
experience with them. Yeah,
And
yeah.
parricide over something so minor.
So stupid. Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think Leslie got the right punishment for what he did. I don't think 8 years is
Nebraska State
anywhere near
Penitentiary was a
enough.
pretty nasty place from what I understand. He had
Also-
life, but he did have a life sentence, but they said that he would have probably been paroled because he was young and because he was a model prisoner. He would have only really done 10 years most likely.
He really must have wanted to go
But
and
what on
like
earth?
get hot and heavy with his girlfriend. He was
Wow.
Well, it can't have been the choice of
Cornbag.
movie, can
he's
it? Like
focused.
he didn't do it over the double header of the undead, so it must have been his girlfriend.
26. He was 26 by the time he got out, like escaped. So yeah, I did wonder, well, whether he was having a very bad time in prison to make him
Yeah.
want to get out. Yeah, and you know what I'm alluding to. He was a pretty man.
Hello.
Anyway, on
Goodness.
that note, I think we've any sentencing, anything further?
No, I think that's it. I haven't got a lot of strong emotion about this one.
No, that's okay. You don't need to. I just thought it was sort of
It's a
interesting.
strange one. 'Cause it's kind of
very strange.
You know, it gets diluted by the time because, you know, something he was so
Yeah,
young.
it
He did it.
does.
There's no clear, you know, line after that as to other crimes or where it just like, oh, okay. Well, it just is a bit diluted by the time he's an old man. We go, oh, okay.
What's the
Shouldn't have-
point?
But, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it's weird. Anyway, all right. Well, thanks for joining me on that. And
Thank you.
as we say every week, miss you already.
Miss you already.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao, 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 ciao. Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine, or visit our website www.trialbywine.com to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.